Hello everybody and welcome to another Toscan review. Today we'll be taking a look at Outward, a game that surprised me with how refreshing and unique it felt. Outward at its core is a action RPG that combines survival elements to create a unique experience that you really just can't see in any other RPG. It's clunky, there's bugs, but I still loved it. You begin Outward after a shipwreck. The game gradually teaches you how to gather materials, fight, eat, drink, and then the real game begins at this point. You find that your family owes a great debt called a blood price, which the town wants you to pay. As a result, you're forced to pay 150 silver, which is a ton of money at the start of the game, or lose your home. And from here, the game really opens out and you can do whatever you want. And this is what Outward really is at its best. It's an open world RPG where you can do anything. You could run around exploring and pay the price by simple gathering loot and things, or you could build and craft things which you can then sell like a trader, or you could just simply ignore it and lose the house which you have. Either way, the choice is really up to you to do whatever you want in Outward. At first, I wasn't really sure if I liked Outward. It's brutally difficult, and I found myself venturing forth into the wilderness to solve my blood price, and found myself being then clubbed to death by bandits, and eaten alive by wolves, and enslaved by those bandits, to the point where I was beginning to get frustrated. But after that, the game really clicked. And soon I discovered how to craft my own weapons, how to play around the game's janky combat, and it is very janky. Animations are not smooth. There's some frustrating rules like how the AI can sometimes interrupt you, but you can't really do it to them with basic attacks. But once you get past all this, Outward really gets to be a ton of fun. It's a game where you really get to live off the land by gathering water, food, and other resources. Don't be so quick to drink that salt water or poison water. You need to boil it first. It makes you carefully think about your actions by pre-planning resources and ensuring you can survive. There's seasons and differences between locations. In the desert, you'll want clothes that keep you cold. In the winter, you'll want clothes that keep you warm. Get too cold, you'll need to make a campfire. Otherwise, you catch a cold or get other illnesses that cause effect on your gameplay. It's just fun and interesting in that way that really makes you feel much more immersed. In Outward, there's no experience or levels as well, so instead you'll use silver to purchase skills from trainers and specialize your character in anything from magic to swordsmanship to spears or more. There's a lot of options here with different abilities you can gain, even different trainers that'll teach you like sigil magic, which requires you to stand in a sigil to cast, or rune magic where you combine runes to create magic. It really lets you design the character in the way you want to play. There's a ton of different classes in the game, but you can specialize in 3 of them, and then you can also get about half the skills in the rest of them. The world itself is incredibly interesting to explore. It's definitely not the prettiest game in the world though, with somewhat budget level graphics, but it makes the best out of those with very interesting monsters and locations that still look really great. Each location generally has some interesting pieces of lore or loot to find. Lots of equipment in the game can drastically improve or change the way your character's abilities interact, which is something I really like. Certain pieces of gear might give you poison resist, which is great in the Hollowed Marsh, or this magic gear, which I found later in the game, reduced my mana cost to near 0, which meant that all my spells were effectively free, so I didn't need to cast mana potions or anything. It just completely changes the way you play and makes your character truly feel like he's gaining more than just plus 10 damage, plus 10 health, and all that like you would traditionally get. I really loved the openness and expansiveness of this game as well. The survival mechanics, like I mentioned earlier, really make you think about your actions, but it really feels rewarding the first time you're able to survive a new environment or monster because of the choices you made on your gear or what kind of stuff you brought for food and things. It's really been a long time since I played an RPG that really truly felt immersive, where I really wanted to experience everything. And Outward is a game that I was so engrossed with, I explored every possible nook and cranny I could find. And I even, as soon as I finished the game, wanted to play a second character to try out different abilities and things. Death is also not the end in Outward. There's different things that can happen after you die, like you could be taken to be a slave, or bandits could capture you, or you might wake up to find a demon over you that either wants to kill you or maybe it just wants to be friendly with you. There's different things that can happen. Sometimes simple, like you'll just wake up in a town, but they add little touches that really make the world feel so much more alive. The story itself is nothing amazing, but I did enjoy the characters in the world that is built. There's partial voice acting that's decent, and the writing is enjoyable. There's 3 different factions you can join, like the Kingdom of Levant or the Holy Mission. Each story generally tells the same story, but from a different perspective of the different factions. There's also some different missions in them that go into different areas on that faction's lore and all. So it's definitely worth a replay if you want to get more to do and more of a bigger, broader perspective on the overall world. While Outward is one of the best RPGs I've ever played, I also have to comment on the complaints I have. This game is incredibly buggy. I had some quests that just didn't really work. My character had gotten stuck multiple times. Some spells and attack animations could be improved as they look bland. The music is good, but it also repeats way too often because there's just too little of it to the point where you're going to get sick of it. I also think that some people are going to dislike the fact that some quests in this game are timed. So there's some quests like that very first one where you have to pay 150 silver to pay for your family's debt, and you only have a couple days. If you don't do it before then, you just lose the house. And there's a lot of quests like this in the game where if you don't get to a location quick enough or do this or that, it does add a sense of urgency, but it can be a little frustrating if you don't understand that mechanic right away. Overall, I loved Outward. This is one of the most enjoyable RPGs I've played in a very long time. It has a true sense of exploration that really just isn't found in many other RPGs these days. I truly felt like I was discovering the land, seeing new things all the time. The character development is deep, and I especially enjoyed how items felt game-changing to the point where exploring the world was not only just about getting slightly more damage from the latest item, but also about significantly improving my character. There's issues like the bugs, the crashing I had a few times. But despite all that, I still really enjoyed this game more than any other RPG in recent memory. Outward gets an 8 out of 10. But I do have to admit that I am a bit biased because I love this game so much. But if you can stand the janky animations and the combat and some of the bugs, you'll love it.